Om Jnanatimirandasya Jnananjanam Shalakaya Chaksurunmilitam Jena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Gurave Gaurachandrayo Radhikayistadalaye Krishnaya Krishna Bhaktaya Tadbhaktaya Namo Namaha. Narayanam Gurum Vande Sharanyam Bhakta Bandhavam Gauramanu Purnam Radha Dasyam Pradayakam Rupanugacharya Varyam Rupamanjari Preshtakam Patita Pavana Bandhavam Yugacharya Narayanam Vanchakalpa Tarubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Vyaevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namne Gauratvise Namaha. Shama Sundara Shikanda Shekara Ismera Hasar Murali Manohara Radhikara Sikamam Kripanide Swapriya Charana Kinkarim Puru Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanusute Devi Pranamami Haripriya Vrindai Tulasi Devyai Priyai Keshavasicha Krishna Bhakti Prade Devi Satyavatyai Namo Namaha. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ramo, Ramo Ramo, Hare Hare. So first of all, I begin offering my most humble obeisances to the dust of the lotus feet of Paramaradattama Shri Guru Pada Padma, Nitrila Pravishta Om Vishnu Pada Paramahamsa Parivrajacharya Ashtotara Sata Srimad Srila Bhaktivedanta Narayana Goswami Maharaj Srila Gurudeva, and to my most worshipable Shikshan Sannyasa Guru, Nitalila Pravishta Om Vishnu Pada Paramahamsa Parivrajacharya Astotara Sata Srimad Srila Bhakti Vijnana Bharati Goswami Maharaj, and to all Shri Rupanava Gauriya Guru Varga, to all Tridandi Sannyasis, Brahmacharis, Vaishnavas, Vaishnavis, and to all the assembled devotees here today, my most respectful obeisances. So by the causeless mercy of Srila Gurudeva and all Mahabhagavatas Acharyas, we are able to assemble here one more time to continue reading from Sri Ramananda Samvada, the chapter about Prema Bhakti. So we have crossed all the different layers of misunderstandings, we can say like that, of what is the supreme goal. And now finally we have come to the supreme goal, which is Prema Bhakti, right? We have previously heard about following Varnashrama Dharma, offering the fruits of your activities to Krishna, renouncing your Varnashram Dharma. Then we heard about Jnana Mishra Bhakti, then Jnana Shunya Bhakti, and now we have come to Prema Bhakti. But we're going to see that even within Prema Bhakti, there are also different layers of relationship and different goals are within Prema Bhakti. But in a general way, for us, Prema Bhakti is the highest destination. But things become a little bit more complicated when we start to analyze in Prema Bhakti what type of relationship you want to develop with Krishna. So now Mahaprabhu again, he's speaking to Rai Ramananda. Prabhu ko hai age, Prabhu kahe ho hai age kahwar, Rai kahe Prema Bhakti sarva sadhyasar. Sriman Mahaprabhu said, O Ramananda, these may be called the Sadhya, but please speak something more. Sri Ramananda Rai said, Prema Bhakti is the essence of all perfection. So he spoke about the previous, which was Jnana Shunya Bhakti. So now Mahaprabhu, Ramananda, he's saying, Prema Bhakti is the essence of all perfection. Sadhya, Sarva Sadhya Sar. Up until now, Sriman Mahaprabhu had only responded to all proposals with Eho Bahya, this is external. But now he says, Eho Hai, this may be. When Jnana Shunya Bhakti was proposed, he said, this is good, because whatever Sri Ramananda Rai had explained before had not been conducive for the progressive understanding of the master-servant relationship. However, this Jnana Shunya Bhakti is favorable for its development. So therefore, Mahaprabhu is not saying this is external. Now Mahaprabhu said, what? Eho Hai. Hai means this may be. Means Ramananda Rai is coming closer. He's already opening the door for Shuddha Bhakti. And entering the realm of Shuddha Bhakti, we have all the different aspects. Mahaprabhu's request for him to speak further on this point reveals that Sri Ramananda Rai has now reached the correct path, but should proceed further. From the verse from Srimad Bhagavatam 10:14:3, which Sri Ramananda Rai spoke to illuminate Jnana Shunya Bhakti, one may comprehend that practicing Jnana Shunya Bhakti and hearing Harikatha is so powerful that Bhagavan becomes controlled by the sadhaka who does so. The Shruti also confirms that Bhagavan is controlled by Bhakti. Bhakti Vashaha Purusha. Yet the degree to which he is controlled is also gradated. He is not controlled equally by all the bhaktis. So now this is the main point. When Ramananda Rai spoke about Jnana Shunya Bhakti, he was actually speaking about Shuddha Bhakti or Uttama Bhakti. And that definition we already know very, very well. Anabhilashita Shunyam Jnana Karmadyanavritam Anukulyena Krishna Anushilanam Bhakti Ruttama. But within Shuddha Bhakti, we have different types of relationships with the Lord. So in this way, we can now see why Mahaprabhu is requesting Ramananda Rai to still go further. Sadhakas engage in devotional services according to their individual tastes and desires, and thus they control Bhagavan to the degree of their devotion. They may even be performing the same limb of bhakti as each other, but due to the sadhaka's individual natures, there will be differences in their practice, so they will not control Bhagavan to the same degree. For devotees in Sakya, they cannot control as much as Vatsalya, and Vatsalya cannot control as much as Madhurya. And within Madhurya also, we have so many different types of relationships with Krishna. The gopis are not the same. The Sakis, they have different also standard, different also levels. And the one who can control the most, Krishna, is Srimati Radhika. So that is going to be discussed further. Essentially, this means that to the degree of intensity with which a devotee desires to perform service, Bhagavan is then accordingly inclined to manifest his quality of being controlled by him. It is for this reason that the devotees of Shanta, Dasa, Sakya, Vatsalya, and Kantavava, Kantavava means Madhurya Bhava, do not each control Bhagavan to the same extent. There is another point to be considered. Is Bhagavan controlled simply by hearing the Harikatha that comes from the mouth of his devotees? Or is Bhagavan controlled by a listener who attains some special state on hearing Harikatha? It is with the intention of clarifying this that Mahaprabhu asked Sri Ramananda Rai to speak a little further on the subject. Because why he is mentioning this point? Because the conclusion of Jnana Shunya Bhakti was what? To listen to Harikatha. Listen to the different sweet pastimes of Krishna. For which you have any special taste, specific taste. That shloka was Gyane Prayasa Mudapasana Manta Eva Vivanti Samukaritam Bhavadiya Vartam Sthane Sitam Shrutigatam Shrutigatam Tanuvan Manobi Jitagito Priyasitais Pesitres Trilokyam. Jitagito, the unconquerable, becomes conquered by those who are hearing that pastime. So now Mahaprabhu has to, Ramananda Rai has to clarify this point. Therefore, now Gurudev is saying about listener and speaker of Harikatha. So that is the connection, okay? So that you not lose track of how the subject is going on, okay? So the speaker can speak in such pure way, with such bhav. He may control Krishna. The listener also, he can surrender to that katha in such a way that he may also be able to control. So now let's see what it will be now explained by Srila Gurudev. So Gurudev is saying, the listener controls Bhagavan just by listening to the narrations of Bhagavan's pastime. This is fine, but this takes place only when the hearer of Harikatha is situated in the stage of Prema. Therefore, now it has to come to the distinction of Prema Bhakti. Because you have listeners in so many different degrees, right? You have listeners in Sadhana Bhakti, Bhava Bhakti, and also in Prema Bhakti. So, in this way, Gurudev is saying, no, only the listeners in the stage of Prema, they can capture Krishna in their hearts through Harikatha. Because they have this capacity of experiencing Katha as being no different from Krishna himself. So when that Katha is being spoken, it's entering the ears, going to the heart, and then he's being captured by that listener in Prema Bhakti. Then he can keep Krishna there, controlled. Krishna doesn't want to leave that heart. That's the point. So, Prema Bhakti, definition. Devotion endowed with the characteristics of divine love. That proclivity to render such service that it gives excessive happiness to Shri Krishna is called Prema. So notice one very important point. He's using the word excessive. Not only happiness, not only a little amount of happiness, not only some amount of happiness, but excessive amount of happiness. That is called Prema. So you can also apply that to that verse in Avilashita Shunyam. Because when the verse says, Anukulyana Krishna Anushilanam, Anushilanam, to please Krishna, to give happiness to Krishna. But to which extent? In an excessive way. That is called Uttama Bhakti. Because if we analyze technically the verse is actually not clarifying this. Right? The verse is only saying, Anukulyana Krishna Anushilanam, to please Krishna in a favorable way. Right? Anukulyan is favorable. And Anushilanam is to please, to give happiness and pleasure. Only in a favorable way. But he's not saying how much a degree is there. So that degree of Uttama, it's actually excessive. Okay? So here is like giving the emphasis on how much amount should be to become Uttama. It should be excessive. Because I, in my small condition, maybe do something favorable that can please Krishna, but how much can I please Krishna? So do I consider myself as Uttama Bhakta? No. Okay? So Gurudev is very clearly giving this hint here. Such service that it gives excessive happiness to Shri Krishna is called prema. Okay? So, through the performance of hearing and chanting, performed in the stage of Jnana Shunya Bhakti, by the mercy of Bhagavan, the contamination of the heart is gradually dispelled. Thereafter, knowledge of the servant's relationship with the Lord, as well as the tendency to serve Shri Krishna, manifest in the heart. Then, by the mercy of the Swarupa Shakti, the essence of Ladini and Samvit, means Radha and Krishna. Krishna's transcendental bliss and knowledge potencies means Radha and Krishna. Enters the heart of the sadhaka. The fully ripened or mature stage of Shuddha Sattva is called prema. This devotional service to Shri Krishna, which is filled with pure love, is known as Prema Bhakti. Okay, so here we have a little bit of Jiva Tattva, and Srila Gurudev is giving some hints how this Swarup of the Jiva, this transcendental constitutional form of the Jiva, is there, eternally present in the heart of the living entity as a seed form. And then when the proper elements and the proper environment and condition manifest, then that seed can sprout. For example, you can keep a seed on a shelf for decades. The seed will remain there as it is. It won't sprout. Because the seed needs what? Special condition to sprout. What is that? Firstly, water. If water is not there, it cannot activate the micronutrients of that seed to make it available. And then secondly, to continue growing, it needs earth, clay, so that the roots can go and nourish themselves. And after that, sun. And after that, wind, and so many things around to keep that that plant, whatever was there from the seed, the tree, alive. And if you want to go deeper on this subject of Swarupa of the Jiva, I highly recommend the book, The Swarupa of the Jiva, which was compiled by Shamarani Didi and other devotees. This book has a very clear and complete, understanding of this subject based on what Gurudev and so many other acharyas have spoken. And myself, I feel very, very fortunate. I also participate on this book. I helped Shamarani Didi also on researches about the subject, and you can even check my name is there in the credits. Although I do not deserve these things, but I mean to say that this is a very, very important book. Very important book. There are very important statements there, which are very difficult to find by yourself, or even how to imagine to search for such things. It's a very deep book. And Srila Gurudev has left to us a complete picture about this subject. We don't need to have any doubt, any type of, feeling that we don't have enough knowledge or information. No, it's not true. We have everything. If you dive deep in this book, you're going to find, everything is there for your complete understanding of this Jiva Tattva process. As well as that book called The Journey of the Soul. You can also find, to some extent, of course, but a lot of good information as well. I also recorded on my YouTube channel in English a summary of this book, Swarupa of the Jiva. And you can also hear some of it. But it's best to download the book and read by yourself, because it is a lot of things, very, very important. And I'm going to give lectures about this for the Russians and the Ukrainian devotees as soon as I finish this book I'm giving now to them, which is the Going Beyond Vaikuntha, the journey of Gopkumar and Brihad Bhagavatamrita, to complement, to give some like substantial siddhanta to complement this story of Gopkumar, which is also all about Swarup of Jiva, right? So in this way, it's such a subject that we have to study, we have to understand in order to not only increase our faith in our Guru Varga, but also to be sure about what type of sadhana you are doing. What is the process that you are in and how you should develop it and how you should follow it in a very conscious and safe way. Okay, that was a small parenthesis around. Okay, let us continue here. Bhagavad-Gita is both our Sadhya and our Sadhana. Similarly, so is Prema Bhakti. If there is Prema within the heart of the sadhaka, then he will perform all the limbs of Bhakti with deep love, and Shri Krishna is pleased with him. Without Prema, the sadhaka may perform Bhakti, but that Bhakti will never satisfy Shri Krishna. For a person who is hungry, even dried bread seems most appealing. But if someone is neither hungry nor thirsty, then he can easily ignore a delicious feast, replete with the 6 types of tastes: salty, sweet, pungent, bitter, sour, and astringent. Controlled by the prema of Vidura, Shri Krishna ate 7 banana skins. Yet, because Duryodhana had no prema, Shri Krishna abstained from a huge feast composed of all 6 tastes served by him. Shri Krishna ate the rice and yogurt offered with prema by the wives of the Brahmanas. Shri Ramachandra ate the remnant fruits of Shavari Devi, a low caste lady dwelling in the forest. And Sriman Mahaprabhu consumed vegetables and snacks from the devotee Sridhara. Bhagavan, hungry to eat whatever a Premi Bhakta offers him, very lovingly and enthusiastically accepts foodstuffs presented with prema. So as I think I mentioned our last meeting, our last questions and answers about prashadam, that Krishna is not really interested in the taste of the food or in the type of the food, but in the love which is going within that. That is his most, cherished desire, is to taste that love of the devotees. Although, of course, he may like to taste the food itself, but if only the food is there and no love, then that also becomes without taste for him. Although Sri Lakshmi resides eternally on the chest of Sriman Narayana, she identifies as being the wife of a Brahmana. Proud of this designation, her serving attitude was slackened, and she was thus precluded from entering the pastimes of Braj. When one has knowledge of the relationship between the master, Sevya, and the servant, Sevaka, the tendency or desire to render service, maintaining a vow to chant a fixed number of names daily. Oh, sorry. I think I jumped. To render service transformed into prema, and the Premi Bhakta chants the holy name, maintaining a vow to chant a fixed number of names daily. The devotee engages in sadhana bhajan, absorbed in the moods expressed in these songs. Radha Kunda Tata Kunja Kutir, Govardhana Parvata Jamunatir. A bower on the bank of Radhakund, as well as Govardhan hill and the banks of the Yamuna river. All these places are my life and soul. Otherwise, the devotee may sing, He Radhe Brajadevi Ke Chalalite, He Nanda Shuno Kuta, Shri Govardhana Kalpa Pada Patale Kaling Divani Kuta. O Radha, mistress of Vrindavan, O Lalita, O son of Nanda Maharaj, where are all of you now? Are you seated beneath the Kalpavriksha of Sri Govardhan Hill? Or are you roaming in the forest along the soft sandy banks of the Yamuna? So this is how the devotees, they like to hear, because that is like udipan for them. That stimulates their hearts in search for their desired goal. A devotee who performs sadhana bhajan in this way very much pleases Bhagavan, who becomes restless to taste even his ordinary offerings. In order to taste prema, he will dance for just a cup of buttermilk. So how Krishna, he can perform like amazing things. And the gopis ask Krishna to dance just for giving him a laddu or a cup of buttermilk or whatever. He'll be very happily dancing and performing. And even gopis, they will be laughing at him, and of course they like so much to see Krishna dancing, but becomes like a very pathetic situation, both drinking each other's love through that type of interaction. So now here Srila Gurudeva, he is quoting the verse 13 from Padavali. Nannopachar kritta pujana marta bandho premneva bhaktaridayam sukha vidrutam syat yavakshud asti jathare jaratha pipasa tavat sukaya bhavato nannu bhaksha peye. As long as one feels acute hunger and thirst, one enjoys eating and drinking. In the same way, even if one worships Artha Bandhu Bhagavan, means the Lord who is the friend of the distressed, with many different types of paraphernalia, only when that puja is performed with prema will that devotee's heart melt with happiness. So the heart of the devotee can only melt in happiness if he is performing his worship with prema. Because that prema is going to make Krishna happy, and if Krishna is happy, then automatically you also feel happy. The essential meaning is that if very strong hunger and thirst are not present, then even if one is offered very tasty, fragrant, and appetizing dishes, one will still not have a desire to eat. Likewise, if there is no prema, then even if one worships Shri Krishna with many, many different articles, still he is not pleased. And on the other hand, if one has a raging hunger and thirst, then one will appreciate and be greatly satisfied by taking common rice and water. Similarly, if prema is present in the devotee's heart, Shri Krishna receives great happiness by accepting even ordinary items the devotee gives him. So in a very simple way, the devotees, they can offer very sophisticated things to Krishna, very opulent things, very expensive things. But if that is not offered with love, with the only aim and object to please Krishna, then Krishna can never accept it. Krishna can never be happy with that. If there is any ulterior motive behind that, no matter how much opulent, how much beautiful, how much expensive things may be, Krishna will never be pleased with that. But if there is love, it can be the most simple thing, the most untasted thing, the most unfinished thing, and Krishna, he'll be very much happy to accept that as the best thing in the whole world. Some people may doubt that the example and the idea being clarified actually correspond, because in the example, it says that only if a person is hungry and thirsty can taking simple rice and water give him happiness. Yet, in the idea being clarified, it says that Bhagavan indeed feels hungry upon being given anything with prema. Thus, the doubt may come in the mind that if the devotee is hungry to serve, then how does this makes Bhagavan hungry? Yet, such doubt is unfounded. Means, now Gurudeva puts a footnote. Here in this verse, Ramananda is explaining that when the devotee has prema and yearns for Krishna to accept his offering, then the love in the devotee causes a hunger and thirst in Krishna. The devotee's affection creates in Krishna a hunger and thirst to accept the offering. The offering itself may consist of ordinary items, but still Krishna comes, and with great relish he tastes what the devotee has offered. Why? It is because the prema in the heart of the devotee has created a great hunger in him. So Krishna was not hungry, he wasn't thirsty, but the love of the devotee made him hungry and thirsty. Because Krishna, he is self-satisfied, self-sufficient, atmaram aptakam. He does not need anything from this world. Whatever we can offer from this world to him, he has much better things in the spiritual world. What can we offer him that could be better than anything he finds in the spiritual world? And especially because he has Srimati Radhika serving him 24 hours a day. How can we compete with that? How can we, ever offer something which will make him look away from Srimati Radhika's offering and eat only prema, only pure prema can make that. And that is very rare. That is very rare. That's why Srila Gurudeva, he teaches that when you offering bhoga, we should not think that you are offering yourself directly to Krishna because you have no relation, you have no capacity. But you are offering through Gurudev, means Gurudev is offering to Krishna. And you're just assisting Gurudev. With that mentality, the offering can be done. But if you think directly you are offering and you have this power, you have this capacity, then it will not be possible. Okay, so let us come back here to the text. We can thus see that since Bhagavan lovingly accepts a devotee's service, according to the degree of strong love that he has for Bhagavan, that such a doubt has no basis. If prema is not present in the heart of the devotee, then the desire to accept service cannot possibly awaken in the heart of Bhagavan. We can also make a similar point in the Gopi Gita book. In the Gopi Gita, we saw that Krishna, the gopis, they had desire to serve Krishna, to please Krishna. And that desire made Krishna what? Also desire that. And then he called them. And he also, again, increased that desire. Also increased that desire to relish that. If prema is not once Bhagavan awakens in the heart of the devotee and reaches the stage of extreme eagerness and longing to serve, then the desire to accept service awakens in the heart of Bhaktavatsala, Bhagavan, the Lord who is always affectionate to the devotee. That is why here Bhagavan is called Arthabandhu, friend of the distressed. With regard to the object of sadhana, Sri Rupa Goswami has said, Kritis Sadhya Bhavis Sadat Bhavasa Sadhana Bidat Nitya Siddhasa Bhavasa Prakatam Riddhi Sadata. Bhakti Samrita Sindhu 1:2:2. Sadhana Bhakti is the engagement of the mind and senses in the limbs of Bhakti for the purpose of attaining Bhava Bhakti. This Bhava Bhakti is a potentiality which eternally exists in the heart of the Jiva and is manifested in the heart purified by sadhana through the mercy of a Nitya Siddha or a living Sadguru. So this shloka is very important because this shloka is the definition of what is sadhana. Every devotional activity is actually not sadhana. Every devotional activity is actually not sadhana. Only sadhana is those devotion activities which have as aim Bhava Bhakti. Then this is called sadhana. Okay? So, in this way, those who have as their aim very clear to achieve Bhava Bhakti, they are actually practicing sadhana bhakti. And also, that should be also with a clear understanding of what type of relationship we will be establishing with Krishna. So Sambandha Jnana must be also clear in this way. Because many people are chanting, many people are worshipping deities, many people are doing all types of devotion activities. But if they have no clarity about where they're going, what they're doing, what is the aim, what is the different types of relationships you can have with Krishna. Krishna is not only one, Krishna is many. Without these things very clear, you cannot do it. You cannot be called sadhaka. That's the main point here. And another very important point, he says, through the mercy of a Nitya Siddha, living Sadguru. Means bhakti only starts if you have taken shelter of a bona fide spiritual master. And he must be a Nitya Siddha Parikar. Because that Nitya Siddha, he knows your Swarupa and he can guide you and he can design your sadhana and he can tell you, do this, do that. Because he knows what type of stimulus you need to awake your dormant constitutional identity. He knows how to do that. Okay, so let us continue here. Pure devotion is the ever-present, eternal constitutional position of the jiva. The living being is a tiny particle of blissful consciousness, likened to a spark of sunshine, Chitkana, of the all-blissful spiritual sun, Chit Surya, Shri Krishna. This naturally occurring happiness is known as Nitya Siddha Bhava, means eternally present love for Krishna. Means Gurudev is saying this bhava is eternally present. It is always there in the heart of the jiva. The jiva is eternal. The jiva is not going to change at any point. But the jiva can manifest its eternal nature, which is there in the form of seed. But also this analogy of seed is also not perfect. So we should not take it literally to the extent of this process. Because seed means it was undeveloped in some stage and then became developed. So it has undergone some transformation. Some transformation. So don't take it literally. Now, in that book, The Swarupa of the Jiva, Gurudev explains very well about all these examples. These examples were given to give some idea. This is called Shakachandra Nyaya. Shakachandra Nyaya means the logic of the branch touching the moon. It means if you want to show where is the moon, you tell someone that is there on the tip of that branch of the tree. That is the moon. But the moon is not literally on the tip of the branch. In the beginning of Jaiva Dharma, very beginning, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he also make a disclaimer like this. You know, many material examples and analogies, they are very limited, and they are there just to help you to come close to the proper understanding. But it cannot give you everything, cannot make you understand fully unless you have realization of that. Okay, so don't take things literally and direct in so many aspects. It cannot be complete, you know, in that sense. Srila Gurudeva, he explains all about these things in these books. So then what, I repeat this one, this naturally occurring happiness is known as Nitya Siddha Bhava. Means the soul has a latent capacity for happiness. Natural means it is spontaneous, it is there without endeavor, right? It's natural. Natural means it has come within it. You're not going to acquire from outside, right? So this is called Nitya Siddha Bhava, the eternally present or perfected bhava for Krishna. This is there already in the soul. If the soul has no such desire, has no such inclination to love Krishna from within and from a spiritual perspective, whatever he chooses to serve Krishna in this or that and that mood, that will be based on what? On his material conception, on his material mind, on his life experience. And that cannot be so. I cannot choose Sakya Rasa or Vatsalya Rasa or Madhurya Rasa or Dasa Rasa because of what I am in this birth. Because next birth I will be different. And even in this birth, I may also change my mind. I will grow older. I change my mood. When I am younger, like energetic, I like Sakya Rasa. I like playing and wrestling with Krishna and all these things. Then I grow older, I develop a Vatsalya Bhav, because become like more older, you feel like others are like your son, and Krishna is also like your son. Then what? How is going to be a sadhana like this? Always changing. And then you meet some other Vaishnava and he convinces you of something else, and then you change your mind. Okay, then that is it. Then comes another Vaishnava, then convinces you to again divert. That cannot be. That cannot be. So unless there is something which is coming naturally from within your own soul, that can be captivated, stimulated, and manifested with the help of a Nitya Siddha Guru. Because he knows and he sees that. And therefore, if he is such qualified Guru, he will never tell you before the time, before being ready, what is that. Therefore, Srila Gurudeva, he gave very strict order. Don't go to Babaji's in Radhakund, because they are speaking this so-called Siddha Pranali, and they are telling you that you are this Manjari, that Manjari, this Gopi, that Gopi. Before you have even removed like most of your anarthas, you are engrossed in this anartha nivriti stage, full of material attachments and things, and now you are hearing you are this Manjari or that Manjari, and then you can meditate. That will disturb your practice. So if a guru does that, it means that he is not self-realized and he is not telling the truth. Because the guru who is self-realized, he will never tell the disciple before time, before he becomes mature in his bhajan, because he cannot digest. So two things we can conclude. They are doing a non-authorized process, and they are themselves also not realized. Therefore, Gurudev told strictly, don't associate. won't be beneficial for you. In our parampara, we have great acharyas, great. Hare Krishna. Can you hear me?
Haribo, yes.
We are back.
We can hear you now.
Yeah. So we have in our mind great acharyas, all self-realized. They can see everything clear. Therefore, they are telling us exactly what we can digest, exactly how we should proceed. If you tell beforehand many things, you're going to spoil that person's progress. Because so many things will come in the heart. Pride, this and that, oh, I am such and such great, now I don't need to do anything more. And these will be artificial things, okay? So in this way, we have to be very much concerned about this and follow strictly Gurudev's line and order, right? Okay? Let me just complete this paragraph here. In this stage, the eternally perfect object, namely the potency of pure love for Godhead, reaches its perfection. When the bound jivas, endeavoring by their senses, strive to attain bhav, their practice is called sadhana bhakti. The goal of sadhana bhakti is to awaken bhava bhakti. So that's the very clear definition. The goal of sadhana bhakti is to awaken bhava bhakti. At the time of initiation or diksha, the Holy Master instructs the sadhaka on his relationship with Sri Bhagavan. Fixed in this relationship, the devotee performs sadhana with firm determination, and thus he achieves bhava bhakti. So perhaps all of you remember how Srila Gurudeva during initiation, Gurudeva, he described to us what? What is our meditation? Radha and Krishna sitting on the jewel throne under the Kalpa Vriksha on the banks of Yamuna, surrounded by Sakis and Manjaris, and we are there assisting and serving them. This is what Gurudev is saying here. At the time of Diksha, Guru is guiding us in that. So what doubt is there? Did Gurudeva tell you are with Krishna and the cowherd boys, grazing the cows, doing picnic and wrestling in the forest? No. You're not asked to do this. Not ask any other type of meditation. He gives us strictly this one. And I'll tell you one very interesting story. Once Srila Gurudev was given Diksha, I think it was Govardhan. And then, after explaining this meditation for Gayatri, he pointed to one Mataji and told, but you should meditate in Sitaram. And everyone like opened eyes, like shocked. And that lady, she was crying. You know, she became very emotional, you know, because she had also this feeling, inclination towards Sitaram. And Gurudeva knew that without her saying anything. Why? Because Guru knows the swarup of the disciple. The mantra is same, but her meditation is different. So some accessions are there, but accessions will be spoken out or revealed by Gurudev himself. You don't need to be thinking, oh, maybe I am this, maybe I am that. No. Gurudev already gave. What is your sadhana? There is no point of coming to Gurudev and Gurudev is giving one thing and then everyone now thinking, no, better if I do different way, I do in a different thing. Then if that's not coming from Guru, you shouldn't say anything. You shouldn't speculate anything. Just follow what Gurudev gave us. Accessions will be mentioned by him. Okay? This is the point. So, fixed in this relationship, the devotee performs sadhana with firm determination and thus achieves bhava bhakti. When this Bhava Bhakti reaches a completely ripened condition, it is known as Prema Bhakti. The Sadhaka Bhakta becomes extremely blessed when Sri Guru bestows realization of his position as a maidservant of Shri Radha. Again, Gurudev is saying, only by the devotion of his devotees does Shri Krishna's love swell. The term sadhana, sadhana bhakti, includes all of the progressive stages of bhakti. Shraddha, sadhu sangha, bhajana, anusthan or bhajana kriya, anartha nivriti, nishta, ruchi, ashakti, and then bhava and prema. So, means he stopped in ashakti because ashakti is prior to bhav. Then sadhana bhakti is this period from shraddha to ashakti. This is sadhana bhakti. Then bhav, then prem. Everything is there. Okay, so the next one is a very important verse, the Padyavali 14, which we are going to discuss in our next lecture because it takes a little more time for that. And then we can continue. In next day, okay? So let me see here. I think not much actually, only 2 pages. Let me conclude this, then we finish this chapter at once. Just takes more 10, 15 minutes. So the verse is, Krishna Bhakti Rasa Bhavitamati Kriyatam Yadi Kuto Pilabhyati Tatra Lolyam Api Mulyam Ekalam Janmakoti Sukrite Nalabhyati. This is a very important verse. And Srila Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, he said this is the verse of ISKCON foundation. When he found ISKCON, in the letter, he mentioned this verse. So ISKCON is meant for this verse, realizing this verse. We are going to see what this verse is telling. O man of virtue, if consciousness that is saturated and perfumed with the nectar of Krishna Bhakti is available anywhere, then purchase it at once without delay. The only price to get it is greed to obtain Brajaras, the moods of Braja. Without this divine greed, and even heaps of spiritual credits, means Sukriti, accumulated over millions of lives will not be enough to procure that bhakti for Shri Krishna. So what is saying here? Saying this Krishna Bhakti Ras, if that is available in the market, means if that is available somewhere, any Vaishnava is offering that or giving that, or it is somehow expressed by their harikatha, by their things. What we can do, we should acquire that immediately without delay. Why? Because that is the greed. So this greed is the ingredient, the main ingredient. This is called lobha. So the verse says, Tatra lolyam. In this case, it's saying lolyam instead of lobha, but it means the same. Tatra lolyam api mulyam ekalam janmakoti sukrite nalabhyati. If you have no greed for this bhakti ras, even if you have a lot of sukriti accumulated over millions of lifetimes, you cannot get it. You can only get it by greed. Greed is the very important ingredient for getting that. So Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur says that this type of devotion, where the heart is soaked in Krishna Bhakti Ras, has only one price, and that price is greed. Bhakti is of 2 types. The first is Shastra Avadharanyamayi Vaidhi Bhakti, the path of bhakti inspired by the governing principles of the scriptures. And the second is Lobha Mulaka Raganuga Bhakti, devotion impelled by greed to follow the loving sentiments of the eternally perfected residents of Braja. Here, Ramananda Rai is alluding solely to the second type of devotion, namely Loba Mulaka Raganuga Bhakti. So there is two types of devotion, and you can speak also in a different way. You can say Shastra Avadharana Shashan Lobama Ishradha, which is that faith imbued with the fear of being punished by Shastra if you don't follow the rules and regulations. That is called Vaidhi Bhakti. So Vaidhi Bhakti faith is based on fear. Okay? So this is the key point. Vaidhi Bhakti's faith is based on fear. Fear of punishments from Shastra. And then you have Bhagavat Kata Lilla Madhurya Lobama Ishradha. Raganuga Bhakti's faith is based on Lobha, that greed to serve in some specific mood those lilas which you were hearing during Harikatha. Okay? So this is like a more broad definition of this Raganuga Bhakti. So Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur tells us that the only method to give happiness to Shri Krishna is Krishna Bhakti Bhavitamati, to have a consciousness infused with the flavors of loving service to him. A fortunate person may enter this Raganuga Bhakti, spontaneous devotion. In this case, Shri Krishna means Brajendra Nandana Shri Krishna, the son of the king of Braj. And Bhakti signifies Bhava Bhakti, the initial stage of perfection in devotion, which matures into Prema Bhakti. The phrase Prema Bhakti Rasa Bhavitamati refers to that person whose every pore is utterly saturated with Shri Krishna Bhakti Rasa, and those intelligence has become one with that Bhakti Rasa. So here Gurudeva, he puts a footnote. Bhakti Rasa, or attachment to Shri Krishna, in the mood of and manner of those eternally perfected devotees, particularly the Brajavasis. So Bhakti Rasa means the mood of the Brajavasis. This mood may only be attained by the mercy of Bhagavan. In Srimad Bhagavatam it has been said, Satam prasangam mama virya samvido bhavantirit karna rasayana kata tajoshana jasapa vagara bhartmani shradharatir bhaktir anukramishati. Bhagavatam 3:25-25. In the assembly of pure devotees, powerful discussions illuminating my heroic deeds become a rejuvenating tonic for both the ears and the heart. By hearing these narrations, one quickly advances on the path of emancipation from ignorance. First, he develops Shraddha, then Rati, and finally Prema Bhakti. So the verse says, Shraddha, Rati, Bhakti Anukramishati. He defines the three stages of Bhakti here. Sadhana Bhakti, Bhava Bhakti, and then Prema Bhakti. This Bhakti Bhava is received by two methods. By the mercy of the devotee, Bhakta Prasadaja, and by the mercy of Bhagavan, Bhagavata Prasadaja. The mercy of Bhagavan strictly follows the mercy of the devotee. This is the very reason why Swayam Bhagavan Shri Krishna descended in the form of the topmost devotee, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and poured his mercy everywhere. Narottam Das Thakur has prayed to Shri Lokanatha Goswami, Kobe Lokanatha more sange lohiya jave, Shirupira pada padme mora samarpive. O Gurudev, when you bestow upon me your mercy and offer me to the feet of Srila Rupa Goswami. In the same manner, we see Shri Krishna Das Kaviraj praying at the end of almost every chapter on Shri Chaitanya Charitamrita. Shri Rupa Raghunatha Pade Jara Asha Chaitanya Charitamrita Kohe Krishna Das. Always praying at the lotus feet of Shri Rupa and Shri Raghunatha for their mercy. I, Krishna Das Kaviraj, recite this Shri Chaitanya Charitamrita. Bhagavan can give bhakti, but not a mood of service to him. So that is a very important sentence. Bhagavan can give bhakti, but not a mood of service to him. Then now you can ask, well, but bhakti does not imply any specific mood. Not necessarily. Therefore, we are all created in a general disposal, like we are all Krishna Das. We are all eternal servants of Krishna. This is for all. This Dasya Bhav is for all. It's like a general understanding that everyone is a servant. But what type of servant? It can be Dasya Dasya. It can be Dasya Shanta. It can be Dasya Sakya, Dasya Vatsalya, and it can also be Dasya Madhurya. Okay? Along with bhakti, the devotee can also give his own bhava and his own personal realization. By accepting these bhavas, it no longer remains difficult for one to attain bhakti. In the same way that sugar syrup permeates every atom of rasagula, similarly, every pore of the body of a Brajara Rasarasika Guru or Vaishnava is completely saturated with Prema Bhakti Rasa. At every moment, the Rasika Vaishnava continuously distributes the most purifying, sweet discussions of Shri Radha Krishna's pastimes. His mind, intelligence, affection, and character are all completely filled with Shri Krishna's Rasamai Bhakti. So he's actually comparing the devotee with the Rasagula, okay, in a very nice way. He's saying the devotee is like a big devotional Rasagula, saturated with Bhakti Ras from all pores of his body, all atoms of his body. This is Prema Bhakti Ras. So by associating with these Rasika devotees, greed is awakened to serve Shri Krishna with Prema. If due to that greed, one has to give up his very life, Bhagavan will indeed become dearer to him than his own existence. We all possess this prema in our hearts, but now it is dormant. It is by hearing discussions saturated with bhakti ras that this prema will be awakened. So again, Gurudev is saying it will be awakened. It means it's there, it's sleeping inside yourself, not coming from outside. No one is going to give you that. It is sleeping. It means it is there already. It's not by association, not by mercy, not by blessing, not by miracle. It is there already in your soul. The devotee hears Bhakti Shastras and cultivates his Krishna consciousness by following the instructions given in them. Thus, he becomes immersed in this Bhakti Bhava. So in this way, this is the end of the chapter of Prema Bhakti. Next time we will continue with Dasya Prema. So we stop here and continue next time. Hare Krishna.